Now, off the top, let's talk about money. We all love and adore our patients, but one of the reasons why anybody will want to further their education is to make more money. So I would suggest, if you're a registered nurse right now, look at your current salary and see if it's even worth it to further your education, because there's no point in getting your master's degree if it's not going to make you any more money than you're making now. Hi everyone, my name is Anastasia and welcome to my channel. If you've been here before, thank you so much for coming back. If you're new, come on in and make yourself at home. Here we talk about everything. I did a video a couple weeks ago sharing my nursing journey, and there was a lot of positive feedback and a lot of follow-up questions. Also, I wanted to share some little tips and tricks that I learned along the way, because the whole point of the channel is to learn from each other and hopefully make each other's lives a little better every day. So come on in and let's have a discussion. I personally know some registered nurses that are making more money than some nurse practitioners and, people with master's degree attached to their names. And of course, it all depends on whatever specialty you're working in right now, and also whatever state you're working in, because, like California, New York, New Jersey, they pay nurses more than, let's say, South Carolina, North Carolina, or further down south. So look at your current situation, where you live, how much money you're making, and decide whether it's even worth it to further your education. Now, once you decide, okay, great, I'm going to go ahead and get my master's, you have to look at what major you want to pursue. So there are the clinical degrees and non-clinical degrees. The non-clinical degrees are leadership, education, informatics, those type of degrees. And then the clinical ones are family nurse practitioners, pediatric nurse practitioners, mental health nurse practitioners, and women's health nurse practitioners. There are more. You get to decide which one suits you best. And I will suggest, so let's say you've been working in a pediatric, ward for the past 2, 3, 5, 10, 15 years, and you want to go get your master's. Maybe get your master's in pediatrics only because you already have the background knowledge, and it would just make things a little bit easier versus, maybe you've worked in a pediatric unit and now you want to go into family nurse practitioner. It's just like a different field that you're trying to break into. And I actually had colleagues when I was going to school that had, similar issues, and it just makes school a little bit more difficult than it really needs to be. So I would suggest, if possible, going in the field that you're already in and just advancing and gaining more knowledge in that particular field. So now you've decided what major you want to get into. Next is figuring out what school. The school decision is a pretty big one. There are the traditional, state colleges and universities, physical school that you get to go. And then there are the online ones, which are everything is online except for the clinicals. The two online schools that I know of, and I know people that have gone to those schools, are Chamberlain and Walden. This is not a recommendation. I'm just saying those are the two that I know of and know people that have been to those schools. And then we have, you can, any school that is in your state that's close to you, you can apply to and go into that one as well. Now, a couple of things when deciding what school to go to. The first one is your own personal study style. So if you are the type of person or the type of students that like to study on your own, you're very disciplined, you can manage your time properly, then you will probably do well in an online school. But if you're the type that likes the social aspect of being in school, like group studies, meeting friends, having a physical teacher, going to a physical lecture, then you would do better going to a traditional school, because you're not going to get any social life with online school. Online school, you get, they give you your reading, maybe chapters 1 through 16 for the week. You read, you do your assignment, you submit it, that's it. Nobody's chasing you to make sure you're doing your work. If you don't submit it, you just don't get grade for it, and that's it. Whereas if you go to a brick and mortar school, you might have friends, accountability, even networking is huge when you go to a brick and mortar school. So that would be my preference if you can. Another thing to consider is your work schedule and your family schedule. So if you're working 3 12-hour shifts, maybe you're working in the hospital and you're working 3 12-hour shifts, then you might have a little bit of flexibility to incorporate, a physical school in your schedule, because you have to make time for going to lectures, you have to make time for studying on all those kinds of things. But if you're working 8 hours, 5 days a week, then it's probably going to be harder to fit going to lectures and also your clinicals into the work week, because most places don't have clinical site open, especially on Sundays. You might be able to get one on Saturdays, but Sundays most likely not. So those are the things to consider. Is first is your schedule and also your studying style. Third thing to consider is finance. Online schools are just notoriously more expensive than going to a regular, state college or university. Currently in 2025, if you're going to a state school, you're looking to spend anywhere between 15,000 to 20,000. Whereas if you go to an online school, you're going to be spending anywhere between 20,000 to 50,000. So the financial difference is huge. And that's something very important to consider when making that decision. And then lastly will be preceptor. This is very, very important to me. So when I was going to school in 2021, I was lucky enough that I found people that were able to help me find preceptors. So networking with your colleagues, friends, anybody in the medical field is very important when you're trying to find a preceptor site. However, when it came to my pediatric rotation, I couldn't find anybody to help. So I had to pay out of pocket to find a preceptor site. And I ended up paying $3,000 for just that one clinical rotation. So imagine if you are, paying for all your clinical site. Let's say you're doing family, pediatric, mother, baby, psych. That's four clinical rotations. And even if you're paying $2,000 minimum, that's $8,000 you have to pay on top of your tuition and your textbook. So if you can, I will recommend going to a school that will provide you a preceptor or a clinical site, so you don't have to add that additional cost to whatever you have going on right now. So these are my little tips and tricks. Deciding what school, which is very important, deciding what major, first deciding if it's even financially beneficial to go back to school, because, like I said, that's it's like 60% of the reason why anybody wants to further their education. As always, if you have any other questions, any other comments, please leave them down below and I will get answers to you as soon as possible. Please share, please like, and comment down below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.